I did as much as I could. I wish I would have been more successful faster. Like, I wish that I would be where I want to be. So I could have gave him everything. But I just did. I did what I could.
We're in for a treat today. I've got one of my longest known friends here joining me today on the podcast. When I moved to Pittsburgh 14 years ago,
wow.
I moved to a little town called Monongahela. And I remember this real estate agent who was really good at marketing. And I was like, who is this Dionne Malush girl?
And then he still, 14 years later, still says my name wrong.
How do I say it?
Malush.
Malush.
Yeah, it's not Malush.
All right.
It looks like Malush.
It looks like Malush. Malush.
And
All right,
everyone
Malush.
always says Dionne Malush, and it's Dionne Malush.
I get the Dionne part, right?
I know.
It's like Dionne Warwick.
I know. Dionne. I actually like it better when you say Deion Sanders because they call me Prime.
Oh, Neon
they call me
Dionne.
Prime Time.
Oh. So why are you here?
I don't know, because you asked me to be here, and you gave me short notice, and I didn't have a lot of time to say no.
Yeah.
Kind of like Napoleon Hill, right? He said 29 seconds to answer. But
you're on a Napoleon Hill kick lately.
I mean, on a kick. I really
Yeah.
am.
So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, because when you go through a lot of stuff in your life, if you don't have personal development in it, I don't know how you get through it. I honestly don't. And I think at this point, at 56 years old, if I haven't been studying this for the last 10, I'm not sure if I could function properly today. So that's why I'm doing it, to help me to get through all of the hard times which seem to keep coming. And so I'm just one of those people that has a lot of stuff. You know, a lot of people die. I know a lot of people. And then you get older and then people die and they keep dying. And then you're young and they die. And it's been a big part of my life. So I honestly think that God put me on the personal development path just so I could understand it, so that I could help other people get through it. So kind of that's why I'm doing it, to help myself get through it so I can help other people.
And that would be like the anchor point, like this whole concept about death. Like,
yeah.
I know your dad just passed away, right?
Yeah, it's been about 9.5 months, and it's been definitely the hardest year. Someone said to me a couple months ago, I was really shocked. They said, I thought you would be a lot worse than you were. And I was hurt by that. I was like, what are you talking about? Like, you don't even know. You don't know what I'm going through. I'm putting on this face for the audience, right? I'm putting out there, and you don't know how hard this has been for me. But they were impressed that I wasn't devastated in front of everyone. Because I was devastated getting to it and watching him be sick and watching him die and watching him take his last breath. That was so hard. But I can't live like that every day. So one of my friends, he is a Navy SEAL. He called me the day after my dad died, and he said, and left me this message. I didn't answer, but he said, I want to tell you, in the military, we honor, we don't grieve. So you have to look at your life with him and realize that you need to spend the rest of your life honoring him and not grieving every single day, because first of all, that's not what he would want. He loved the happy side of you. He loved the good in you. So if you don't share that with the world, then you're not honoring your father. And I was like, oh, gosh. Like, I never looked at it that way. Because you think about the military, how many people they see die? And they hold people in their arms and die. And if they spent their whole life grieving, or their whole time right there grieving, how do they get to the next point of what they have to do? So that's...
Well, it's easy for them not to do it. They usually got bullets whizzing by.
Yeah,
if they just saw somebody else die. So.
Oh, gosh.
But for you don't have bullets whizzing by. And so when you say that, you said something about facing the audience. You have to put a happy face on for the audience. Why? Why do you have to put a happy face on for the audience?
Because that's what he would want. I mean, even though my dad was fun, like he would know that I was sad because he knows how much I loved him. In fact, he told me once, he said, I think you love us too much, if that's possible. And I said, I don't know, Dad, because I did love them. I didn't have kids. So I have a dog, I have my parents, my sisters, and I have Jason, who I'm forever thankful for, because he's definitely saved me. But yeah, I don't know. I have to, because I'm leading a 200 people company. I can't fall apart, because they would. It's hard enough to keep people in the first place. It's hard enough to keep them there. You're going through the worst time of your adult personal life, and people are leaving your company, and you're like, hold hold on a minute, I'm grieving here. Can you give me 5 minutes? Can I have a month to grieve before you all stab me in the back? So, I don't know. I have to keep this face going. But inside, I'm doing better. I'm definitely better than I was. And
when you say when I was, like, is that like
6 months ago or 8 months ago
okay.
or 10 months ago or even before. So before he died, the last 6 months, he was getting sick, but we knew he was sick, but we didn't think he was going to die. I guess he didn't want to die. He's like, I want to live forever. And then he started to shift in some of his words. Like last Christmas before last, he was laying down and I sat down with him and I said something to him and he goes, you gotta understand that we're going to die. And I'm like, and I'm shocked because he's never said that, because he always said, I'm going to live. I want to live. I love life. I want to be here. But he was getting so sick and he just couldn't do anything. So I was grieving before he even died, knowing that sooner or later it was going to come. Did I think it was going to come when it did? No. But it did. So
have you had, I'm assuming, because you let off the podcast with, there's been a lot of death. I'm older. There's a lot of people dying. When I was younger, there was people dying. So you've had a lot of, I guess, practice.
A lot of practice
with death.
Since I was a year and 2 months old, it started. So you think when you're born.
A year and 2 months old.
My baby brother died. So I got to see my mom and dad go through their happiest moment of their life, go to the hospital to have the baby, come home without him. So as a baby.
You don't remember that though, right?
But my subconscious does.
Well, and the energy and the things, yeah. Then they change. I'm sure they changed, and so then that changed you.
And I never wanted kids.
You don't even know, yeah.
So you think, why did you never want kids? Well, probably
you don't want to get hurt.
I felt that pain. Regardless, I went through that with them. So my parents met. Let's have the best story. They met in May in 1967, and in August they eloped. 3 months, eloped. The following June, I was born. So I really knew them almost as long as they knew each other. Like I wasn't the reason they got married, but I was quickly after they got married. And so I've been with them the whole time. So that pain and that suffering that they went through, my dad lost his son. My mom lost her baby. She didn't even, back then they didn't even get to take a picture or have that. All they have is what's in their memory, that few days.
How'd that happen?
My mom explained it that when she was going into labor, they called the doctor. They couldn't get a hold of him. They didn't have cell phones back then. And he was out somewhere having some drinks and couldn't get back to the hospital. By the time he got there, the baby moved and blood vessels broke in his brain. So when he came out, he was going to be a vegetable. They said he would never live. So there's nothing they could do. And today, that would never have happened. First of all, if the doctor didn't answer, they would have called another doctor, right? Or they'd have did what they had to do. They never would have went that long. So he was perfect when he came out. My mom said she can remember him perfect and exactly what he looks like. But so that's how my life started. Didn't take long for that to happen. And it just kept happening. 6th grade, I remember one of my dad's, he worked with this guy and his son was on a sled and came flying across the road and got hit by a car. We were in 6th grade. So traumatic. Like the kids in the school were like traumatized. My grandpa, 7 heart attacks in a week. I was 6th grade. That. Then 11th grade, my grandmother. Then 11 months later, my grandfather. And then my friend had cancer. And then it just kept going and going until 1 year, 14 people died. 2 year span, 14 people died. My best friend, Jason's dad, my aunt, my other friends fell and hit his head off a rock. Another friend got a cold and died. Like, it was insane. Answering the phone in those 2 years, I was feared of the phone because every time it rang, I was like, oh my gosh, now what? So I think I've lived my whole life waiting for those calls, even with my parents, right? Because they would live 600 miles away. So when my mom called that day and said, Dad wants to talk to everyone, we all talked to him, and he's like, I love you all. My sisters and I were on a plane the next morning. We were there by like 8 o'clock the next day, and we spent 12 days there watching him starve to death. So it was awful. So that, our nephew, Jason, our nephew got hit by a Mack truck, killed instantly. My cousin, she was walking down the middle of the highway with her boyfriend, or he pushed her out of the car. She got hit by a truck. Like, there's been so much. that the preparation of it, I think it prepared me for my dad to die. And people would like say, like, when people, you've had him your whole life. Well, that's correct. I've had him for every single minute of my life. So for 55 years, he was part of every minute of my life. I loved him since the moment I opened my eyes. I'm lucky to have that relationship. A lot of people aren't. They don't have it, but I do. So it's hard. So it's been a tough year, but I'm pushing through.
I appreciate you sharing that. I've experienced my fair share of death as well, so I can kind of like understand. I've never lost a parent, but I do believe that I've been through so much death recently that I'll probably be able to handle it a little bit better if you know. Yeah, do you think that your story, and I know you talk to a lot of people because you're really friendly, you're outgoing, and I'm sure you've talked about this with others. Do you feel like there's been a disproportionate amount of death in your life versus like maybe like let's just say the average person that you hang out with?
I think so. I feel like it. In fact, my partner said to me a couple weeks ago, there's a lot of tragedy of people around you. And I was like, wow, I really didn't look at it like that. But I guess when I sit there and I think about it, that 2-year span.
When was that?
2004 to 2006.
Okay.
So it's been 20 years. But, getting a call that our nephew was dead, was a shocker. And, that was, my Jason's actually it's his nephew, but I've known him since he was a little boy. We've been together 25 years. Just a lot of shocking things. Just a few weeks ago, one of our friends growing up got killed on a motorcycle. One of our friends back then, his dad died. 4 months later, he got killed on a motorcycle. There was just so much. It was and I think what you said is it better prepared. It's made me better prepared. Doesn't make it easier. I'm still heartbroken, and God knows when everybody's day comes with their parents, especially if they have a good relationship. One thing I know for sure is that I don't have regrets. If I'd have known that he was going to die in September, maybe I would have did the couple things I wanted to do differently, but I don't regret because I know I did everything I possibly could to love them. And I think that's important because regret after dying is really horrible. But knowing that you tried everything and did everything you could, it does help a lot. So I'm not sitting there thinking, I wish I did this or I wish I did that. I did a lot. And I loved them so much, and they knew how much. So 2 years ago, 2021, I bought him a car for Christmas. And it was not a big deal. It was a $15,000 car. It wasn't but it was such a big deal to them because he was starting to get to the point where getting in his vehicle was difficult because he had a SUV. So I got him a car that was lower, and he was so happy that day. And I could see him, and I have a video, barely can see it. But he sitting there, and I could see tears in his eyes. And, I did as much as I could. I wish I would have been more successful faster. I wish that I would be where I want to be. So I could have gave him everything. But I did what I could. So.
How do you know you didn't give him everything? You gave him your presence.
Yeah, I know.
That's all they want. That's all anybody wants. I just was talking to a friend of mine this morning that the ultimate present is presence.
Oh, it's beautiful. I've never heard anybody say it like that.
I've been saying that now that because I went through some death situations, and I feel like I've learned that when you can embrace it and most people want to run from it, right? And then most people want to kind of hide and either medicate or do whatever they got to do to kind of not have to deal with it. Mm-hmm. But when you're put into shocking situations, for me, my brother got murdered 3 years ago.
I know.
And that forced me to embrace the pain. It just because I knew I had to be there for my parents, and I just knew that, there's just I don't know if it's that gene, that chromosome inside of me or that gene inside of me that says, oh, I got to be the strong one. But then when I realized that, like, if you can just like sit and be present with the pain and like sit there and feel it, the more I embrace pain and like sit there with it, the more healing I feel like it feels, and the more I'm able to connect, and the more present I can become. And then when I become present, that's really all people want. I've realized that now, because people are like, "Oh, Ben, like you're a little different now." Because I'm not running around like a chicken with my head cut off trying to be successful, or trying to be like, trying to do this or trying to do that, or trying to keep growing and building. And I realized from all the stuff from my past, I think I was doing all of those things because I was running from something. Yes, well, I was creating something awesome, but it was really a reflection of like trying to like make myself feel better. And I know we've talked about that before, because we both got some interesting pasts.
We definitely do. So,
but
one
yeah,
thing
presence.
I feel in the last year, since I've been more creative, and as a creative already, graphic design background, art institute, spending years with a graphic design business, I think I filled up the time with stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't think, right? So I was doing all this. I mean, I went and literally feeling like I never stopped for months, just creating, doing things. I started that podcast just to feel things. I was just filling the gaps so I didn't have to think. And then my birthday came. And usually at midnight, my parents would call me every midnight on my birthday and sing happy birthday to me. So, of course, that didn't happen. So I sat there at midnight and played all the little videos that I have, which are not many, that's one thing I wish I'd have made some more videos. But I have enough that I can hear his voice, I can see his face, I can see his eyes, But I sat there and played I probably stayed up till 4 a.m. just bawling my eyes out for 4 hours. So not a good start to the day, but it's what I needed, because I had just been filling up with so much that I just wouldn't feel. So I wouldn't feel it. So anyways, yeah, so the beautiful side. So I'll tell you how the ending. He finally says 3 years ago he had he fell and it got hurt and hit his back and hit his head, and I had just left there, and I went back and we took him to the hospital, and they said he had a collapsed lung. He needed to get it checked. While we were in the hospital, they never said anything else was wrong. They just said that, but it felt weird the whole time I was there, and so he didn't go back. He never wanted to go, because my dad never wanted to know anything that was wrong with him. He had a heart attack at 48, stroke at 60, stroke at 70. Like, he had all of those, had to go to the doctors. Other than that, he wouldn't go. Except for his local cardiologist, which is amazing. But anyways, we go to the ER, and they said to us, and so we're excited because we've been sleeping on the floor. We've been in the concrete floors just trying to help move him because he was hurting so bad. And we get to the hospital, and they said he had a tumor, and he had an aortic aneurysm that was massive. And so they tell him that. We take him home. He dies the next day. So he found out what he had and died the next day. And my sister was playing some music, and I said, "Why don't you play that song Daughters by John Mayer?" And so she played that. He was barely breathing. And then my mom and dad had a Boys II Men song, I swear. And he literally took his last 3 breaths during their song.
Boys II Men.
Yeah. And they have I have them on.
Cody, that's before your time.
Yeah, he's so young. But yeah, so it was a beautiful end, that part. He did it his way, and he told me about a week before he died. He said, I did it my way. And I said, I know, Dad, and I know you didn't want to know. And, and I felt bad because he was hungry. I felt bad because he couldn't eat. But he did live his life his own way. And so that's important, because people get sick and then they die from knowing. And he didn't want to know. So he didn't die from knowing. He died because he lived his life his way. He didn't go to the doctors. He didn't have to go through all of that medicine and pain. There's both sides of the story, right? There's a side that you go through and you can live, but you could go through it and die anyways. Or you do what he did, and he just lived, and when it was time, it was time. He didn't have to sit there and worry himself sick about what he had or didn't have, or if he was going to live. And so I kind of commend him for that, because I understand where he's coming from. Not knowing was good for him. So anyways, that's my story of right now.
What, and you were on the personal development journey, obviously longer than the last year.
Yeah, 2006 actually I started when The Secret came out, the movie The Secret.
The Secret.
I watched
Tell me about that journey for yourself. When you first started this personal development journey, why did you like go down the rabbit hole? What have you learned going down the rabbit hole? Why is it important to you?
Well, I was struggling a little bit financially. And I had a girl call me and say, hey, we want to come over. We're going to have it was a multi-level marketing thing. We're going to have a little thing at my house. You want to come over? We're going to watch this movie. So I said, okay, whatever, I'll go. I went over and she put on this movie, The Secret. And I'd never really heard of it, but I heard of the books that she made it from, The Science of Success and Science of Getting Rich, Secret, Think and Grow Rich. And so I watched it. So I'm a visual person, so it affected me because I saw this visual adaptation of all the things that I've been reading. So it hit me differently because I could say, wow, that's amazing. Like I can see that. So after that point, to be honest with you, I've never been in that financial situation again. Now I've been ups and downs. I've had, I ruptured my Achilles, so I didn't have income for months. So I've been there, but I got back out of it quickly. But starting that journey started me in reading more and Think and Grow, which was a huge part of it. I've been reading that over and over again, year after year. I've been studying. I have a mastermind group. We've been meeting for like almost 7 years, and we study it. We read through it every week. Now we're doing it weekly, and it just keeps me on top of my mindset and my subconscious mind from going the other side and worrying myself sick about stuff. Like I still have stress, but I get through it faster. I still have bad days, but I get through them faster. I'm not perfect at it, and no one really is. I think as long as you're a human being, you're going to have days. You're going to have moments. And I remember my friend Jim Shorkey said, he would go through it, but he would get there faster, and he trained me to do that. Okay, you can have a bad moment, maybe even a bad hour, maybe a couple, but don't let it define your day. Don't let it define your whole life. So that's what personal development does for me. It doesn't let me go back to that space of negativity, of not believing in myself. The limiting beliefs are difficult, but if you have personal development, you can read something, you can listen to something. Oh my gosh, YouTube, there's so much on personal development. You know that. I mean, you embody it. You sit there and listening to you, I can get excited about life. Like it really helps to have other people's opinions and other people's thoughts that help me just to be a better person. I think I've turned out to be a really goddamn good person. And I look at it and I wasn't good all the time. I was bad. I was a boy. I really was a tomboy my whole life. So not having
Why is that bad though?
I mean, it's not bad, but when I finally realized that it's okay to be a girl, it's okay to meet other people, it's okay to...
She had a lot of masculine energy.
Yeah, because I had to replace my brother, right? He wasn't here, so I had to stick up for my sisters. I mean, I can't even tell you the amount of times I stuck up for my sisters. And I still would. And I feel the same way with my own company. In fact, on the meeting the other day, I said, go ahead.
So you're taking more of that alpha leader responsibility to where like you felt the responsibility to like take care of your sisters.
Of course.
Probably even also this weird responsibility, awkward, you probably didn't realize it, to take care of your parents even at a young age because like, and then that's what's also then turned, what I'm seeing and hearing in your stories, that's what also has turned you into this leader in the workplace. And you just like kind of just, it's just your destiny. That was just kind of like where you were going because you were the one that was able to handle it.
Right.
And then I'm sure a lot of other people looked up to that. But it was all from a place of, I guess, trauma. Because...
Right from the beginning.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, I know. We don't ever know that.
I actually met with this lady, and she was helping me, and we were going through it. And one day I sat there, and she's like, let's talk about the past. And I told her I didn't want kids, and she said... Why didn't you want kids? And I'm like, I don't know. I just never did. I remember when I was in junior high, I would think about what I would name my kid, but then it would go away. And then moments will come by and I'll be thinking, wonder what my child would look like. But then it's gone. Like, it's just moments. It's not a day. It's not, I'm depressed, I don't have kids. I'm 56 years old, and I can tell you there's never been a 24-hour period where I was like longing for a child.
Have you ever sat still for 24 hours before?
No. No. I don't sit still good, and I don't nap good. Like, I don't want to take naps. I want to live. Like, I feel like there's so much left to do in my life, and I'm on the other side of it now. Like, that fears me. You know, what if I don't get everything done? What if I don't affect enough people? Because, you know, for the first 40 years, me affecting people wasn't important. Maybe the first 45, like it was about me. Now it's about everyone else. Like, I worried about everyone else since I was in my mid 40s. Now, to this degree of our company. In our meeting the other day, I want to say this is, I said, there's nobody that will fight harder for all of you than me. Like, even if they do something wrong, I'll be out there defending them, and madly defending them. Like, I'll go up against anybody. I'm 5'2". Like, what am I gonna do? But I will anyways, because that's how I've been my entire life. Always been fighting for everybody. So,
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I mean, my sisters were capable. My sisters are tough. If you met them, you would be like, they're both taller than me, amazingly, and they're independent, fierce women. Like, they're great. And I hope that I was I hope they saw that in me. And I'll say this to you, because this is really important. When I was 14, so we lived in a trailer court. I lived in a trailer. There was 3 of us in one bedroom. The bedroom was literally probably not even as big as this room. And we had 1 closet and 1 dresser for 3 girls till I was 18.
Wow.
That's a long time. I mean, kids wouldn't even know how to act today if they had to live in a space that big.
I mean, believe it or not, there are kids living like that.
I know, but
isn't that wild?
Yeah, it's hard to believe.
It is hard to believe.
But it was not bad. It wasn't a bad life. We had so much love in those tin walls, and you couldn't walk through the hall without touching each other. You know, so you had a lot of connection. So I'm 14. Someone knocks on my window. So I'm on the top bunk, and there's a window with a screen right beside literally where I lay. And I hear knock, knock, knock. And I opened it up, and there was one of the neighbors, and they're like, Dionne, you have to come out here. And I'm like, what's the matter? And they said, somebody spray painted something bad about you on the church steps. So I get up, I walk to the church steps, and there's this horrible message about me.
What did it say?
Dionne Malush is a whore. I was 14. I never even did anything wrong at that point. So if you don't think personal development helps people, imagine that being stuck in my head for all of those years. I had to scrub it off. I still, to this day, I have an idea who may have done it, but I still don't know. I don't 100% know.
Does it matter?
No, it doesn't, because it's over with, it's past. It obviously made me even stronger, because I knew who I am, and I know who I am today. And that was a big point, though. I mean, that's not a nice thing. Imagine your little girl as a father.
Mm-hmm.
One time, my dad was crazy. Being a girl dad of 3 girls had to be hard. But I remember one of my old boyfriends came in the trailer court, and he grabbed my sister and like tried to pull her in the car. And we went in the house, and my dad was playing cards. So it was my mom, dad, and their 2 friends. He literally backs his chair up, stands up, gets in his car, and chases them with a gun down the road. Chases them down the road. They go flying, and they were driving so fast that the undercarriage of their car got tore up. He sat at the Jehovah's Witness church with a gun pointed out at these guys. If they would have came back past, they would have been dead. Like, our life was insane. But we had the greatest love. We loved them so much. Our parents were so cool, and definitely had the coolest parents, because we were younger. They were young. They were 19 when they had me. So anyways, I don't know. I just got the defensive side. I got in a lot of fights growing up. I had brass knuckles on the bus. I punched someone with them, hit them, and then I hid the brass knuckles under the chains, so that my neighbor owned the bus. So we broke in at nighttime, and I got them so that they couldn't find them. Right? So I mean, I was just a fighter. I was wild.
Do you ever wonder, like, because I believe that everyone has an equal and opposite side that's actually equal. We we show the other side. We usually show one side more than the other because we've never leaned into the other side. And for you, that sounds like it's more of the feminine energy, more of the softer side, right? Like you don't display those things. Do you ever wonder what that would look like for you?
I mean, I try now. I do try.
And how do you try?
So I think a couple of years ago, I went to a woman's retreat, which I really didn't hang out with girls a lot, like really hang out. And it was all women, and we had the most amazing weekend. And I thought, this is beautiful. Like, I love this. I love to be a part of something. It's strong women still, but their soft side was incredible. So I think that's I'm trying to be that way. I think I'm definitely that way with Jason. I've changed a lot over the years of 25 years being together, where I'd let him be the man, right? And I'd let him, and I don't try to think I can do everything because I really can't. I'm 56. I'm hurting too. You know, I'm in pain. At things you just can't do all the things that you think you can. I'm a girl. I still am a girl, and I'm not a strong girl. So I do soften up. I definitely have softened up with him a lot, and I think he loves that. He loves to see that side. Is
he more? I don't know him at all. Is he more? Is he softer?
He's kind. He just has a kind, loving part of him.
Yeah, he's not like a dominant, like no, yeah. I didn't sense that even just from like the way you talk about him, and even from his like I've seen pictures of him. I can almost tell by his eyes.
Yeah, he's got great eyes.
That he's got like a loving, gentle, calm soul.
He does, but
and I'm sure also, but he has, but again, we all have two sides to us. But like some people are more balanced, and then there's like some of us that are like a little bit more extreme on one side, and we're trying to learn that other side. And one thing that you said earlier that struck me, and I think this is interesting, is when I asked you if you've ever sat still before for like 24 hours. I wonder, like, has anybody ever talk to you about like sitting still and like trying to like just go deep within and maybe not have to do anything? Because a common theme through like the last half hour has been do. I have so much to do. I have so many people to impact. I got to do. And I just wonder.
You mean like yoga or meditation? I mean,
there's different vehicles that like can help you become more still. But yeah, sure, like yoga, meditation.
I love yoga. I love meditation, especially love meditation.
How long do you meditate for?
Not long. I mean,
when you say not long, give me a time. Give me like 8 minutes. Is like you do like one of the guided things, or?
So I don't do it enough, but I just started this week on a self-development camp or self-discipline camp, and we do it for like 20 minutes. But in the 20 minutes, I have to turn the camera off because I'm like, I'm sitting there. I can't sit still that long.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. Can you help me out?
Are you? Well, I'm here to ask questions. Well, you have all the answers within inside. I used to think like you. I'm a version of you, and so I think that's why we probably have that kindred energetic spirit.
I agree.
But I've learned over the years that whole thing of like not being able to has sparked my curiosity to be like, yeah, like why can't I sit still? And then I started to try to figure out how to sit still, and I learned how to sit still, and I learned how to be in silent. I actually went to a silent retreat last year. I'm actually going next week. So we're filming this episode today on July 5th. I'm heading to the Art of Living Institute again on July 10th. And we're going to be there for 5 days and doing I think we're in silence for like 3 full days.
Not speaking at all?
No speaking, not writing, not listening to music, not journaling, not doing anything except for meditating, taking some walks outside with yourself.
Phones?
You eat no phones. Like, no.
When your wife needs you?
I mean, what happens? I mean, like, what happens if I'm dead? Like, what do you mean needs me?
Like, what if she calls you?
She already knows that I'm in.
So she won't call you?
No, I mean, there's not. I mean, at the end of the day.
Don't you miss her in 3 days? Or you just don't think like that? It's not that kind of thinking.
It's
I'm I don't even understand what you're doing because I don't know if I can sit there for 3 days.
Well, and again, listen, so you have to do baby steps. So like part of it was like, just doing a meditation for like, so like, how you can go to yoga class and it's usually like an hour or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, like they have the same thing for meditation. Like even at schoolhouse yoga, so I went to schoolhouse yoga once and I did a meditation for like an hour and I was like, and I was like, and I'm imagining if like you had to, 10 minutes in, I'm like looking around, I'm peeking, I'm like trying to figure this all out. And then again, it's just like anything else. It takes practice. And I want to know why I can't sit still. And it's because the monkeys, the 12 monkeys that are like controlling this, elephant, is like, it's like a circus in there. And I know now, like it's through like, it's from, the trauma, the way we're wired, our environment of growing up, the way we then hardwired ourselves and programmed ourselves. Because after you program yourself for the first, 12, 13 years of your life, I mean, that program's pretty, well, you're not stuck forever, but like, but it's stuck unless you're not aware, right? And so now that I'm aware, now I'm like, all right, how do I reprogram myself? And to me, it's through stillness. It's like the cure or the way to get peace, right? Because I think the goal is like, we love impact, but we also don't have peace. You're missing the peace, right? So like the impact is high, and that comes from we've told ourselves like I know my story. Like I had like addiction issues. I had like this need for stuff, like things, right? To like feel like I was at peace, right? And now most of us entrepreneurs, most of us, the people that we're out there talking about, we say that we're giving. We're doing it for everyone else. But to me, that's another itch that we're scratching. We just mask it as giving to others now. I know no one ever talks about this. But I believe that's because we are, and I'm not saying that it's wrong. It's not that it's wrong. It's a good, that's a healthier addiction, right? Than some of the dark stuff, some of the dark stuff that we've probably been down in our life. But it's still that same. We've just some people use the gym, some people use and then there's some of us that are like give. We got to do something for everybody else, right? So it's a healthy addiction, but it's still we've not silenced and tamed the monkeys in our brain.
And the peace is something that
and how do we get impact and peace? Gino Wickman talks about this a lot in his book Shine. Okay. Trying to figure out how to free your true self, because again, we don't know what our true self really is, because again, we've been wired from our upbringing, our environment, the reactions to the things that we have done, and then like these chain reactions, when this happens, then that happens, and I follow up with this, and then I keep going and going and going and doing, because that's all I know. That's all you know. Do. Yeah, that's what I mean? And then take care of everyone. And so that's why, like, for you, when I hear like, if I told you to just sit here in silence for 30 minutes, you would like literally go out of your mind.
Yes.
I already know. I've been there. And that's why I keep testing myself, right? Because to me, that's the ultimate, like, that's the way to get the peace side, to be able to sit with ourselves, because there's something inside that is not, it doesn't feel good. Like as soon as that comes into our mind, that means there's something in there that maybe isn't quite, I guess, healthy or right, and so that's why I believe that, like, I think that you'll even be able to help more people by being able to just hold space, chill, breathe.
I love breathing.
People,
I love breath work. I practice transcendental meditation for a year.
But here, and again, nothing against transcendental meditation. I love it too. It's great stuff. Yeah. And it's on the path. But we love it because of the high that we get. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, cocaine, heroin, like everything else, like, and again, there's nothing wrong with it. It's great. And the breath can actually cure lots of things, but it's like, all right, when I get past the transcendental meditation, what's beyond that as far as like the super just stillness to where you can calm your whole inner self down and that everything else around you just comes to like a kind of like a, I don't know, like a pause. Time starts, first of all, the concept of time, it's non-existent. I've experienced that to where like my life now, I'm experiencing, it feels like the last year feels like 10 years.
Really?
Yeah. And I don't know how to explain this, but but it's through more stillness. And I don't do it enough either. I'm talking about it like I'm like some pro. I am not a pro. I still have a hard time meditating every day. So that's why I like to go more extreme. Have you ever done, you definitely haven't done this. There's these float tanks, float spas.
Yeah, there's one in Murray. I have never went there.
Here's the deal.
Yeah.
Just try it on yourself. Okay.
Yeah.
The first time I went into one, I lasted like, this is after 2 meditating, and Brittany's really into meditation. So it really helps having a buddy or a friend that can like go with you at first. Cause you know, it's no different than trying to like, you know, detox from anything else, right? Like you just kind of need a little bit of help, right? And so I went, the first time I made it like 17 minutes, but this was after like going to meditation a lot and doing some of that stuff. But now I'm up to the point where I can literally sit there in an hour and it's like, and I can't believe it. And then I get out, I'm like, dude, that was an hour? Like that was crazy. Like it felt like I was in there for 30 seconds.
Wow.
Because it was just like, yeah. And then you go in and it's enclosed. And so that, a lot of people say, oh, I'm claustrophobic. No, you're claustrophobic because of something in your brain that's traumatized you into thinking like, oh, I can't be enclosed in spaces. That's just a reaction to your past.
There's so many reactions.
All of that is. Everything is. I totally believe, and this is like a hot take, I believe that everything is a reaction to the past.
I'm with you because I am a reaction to the past.
But I also believe that you can change that by going back in and looking at those things and trying to create a new story. And I saw that you're into the story brand stuff too, by the way. But like, see what you can do. See what you can do with stories and how you can create a new and different feeling.
Yes.
Well, if you use that, now you use it for, business and helping entrepreneurs and creating a brand and all that good stuff. And that's like fun and great. Sorry. What did we tell you at the beginning of the podcast?
I'm sorry. It's an alarm.
I'm just messing with you.
Sorry, everyone.
That's all right. But what if you did that? What if you used your story to create new stories about your past so that you can reshape your present? And when you live more still in the present, you can shape your future because now your future is even brighter. It's not a reflection of your past and all the death and all the trauma and all the stuff and you said, like my people could be backstabbing me. Like none of that.
Yeah. None
of that. We have
to keep, we could be sitting here for a day. Like there's a lot to talk about here.
Yeah. So I wanted to leave you with that because I feel like I see you. I understand you. And I also want you to know that you don't have to keep doing. Like you don't have to keep doing. You can just let go, be still. And that actually is going to attract, first of all, more of the right people in your life. It's going to make you're still going to have impact because that's already hardwired inside of you. Okay. But now it's going to give you that peace so that way you get that flow going. Mm-hmm.
They have girls go to this? Do girls go to your little things that they have?
The silent retreat?
Yeah.
That's full of women. That's all pretty much, listen, there's very few men that actually, like when I went the last time, there was 40 people, there was probably 10 guys, and I was the only one like me. The other ones were more, I would say more like Cody, more like chill. Like they've already been on the path for a little while.
Yeah.
That guy right over there, dude, his energy is amazing. As soon as you enter a room with him, you automatically just calm down.
That's very cool.
Because he's emitting that. But he's been practicing, for a long time. And so, yeah, it's, I'm excited.
There's a specific reason that you called me to be on the show today, right?
Well, it was time because I've known you for a while, but I've been watching you and I wanted, and you came to one of my workshops one time and I know that you're on the path and I wanted to Oh yeah, wow! Look at that! Holy
saved
cow!
it,
Still got all the
And
notes.
I wanted.
Holy
do you
cow.
have another one? Because do you ever have these in your computer? Because I want to feel it out better now. I want to do this
Yeah.
again because I
Wow.
can't even read it. And I sat there and I was writing all these things.
That's crazy. Check that out. That's from a workshop I did a year ago. I was thinking about doing another
Look at
one.
this. I was writing all the things that have happened in my life. These were just some of the pages.
Man.
Everyone. Like these are all the things.
But if you take those
From this.
things, here's the thing: if you take those things, let's just take one moment in your life. And again, we don't have time to do it this because I know we have to go. But if we took one moment in your life, like because again, most of the stuff that you've written down, it's mostly bad stuff that you
Right.
look at it as like a negative type of energetic
I
shift.
didn't write any good stuff.
No, you know why? Because again, where focus goes, energy flows.
I know that. I know that.
But the problem is you still keep doing the same thing because it's a habit that you have to break. Mm-hmm. Do you know who Dr. Joe Dispenza is?
Yes. I was just with Dr. Joe Vitale last weekend. Do you know who that is?
No.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to trade you on that one. So
But anyway, but you focus on all this death and all this bad stuff and about all the shame from like your past and everything else. And it kind of just emits out.
even though I'm not.
You don't even realize that you're doing it. But here's the only way that I've learned, and this is my own experience, is I've had to take every single one of those incidents in my past, put it in a vacuum by itself. It's kind of like this cup, okay?
Yeah.
So this is the bad. This is the bad. This is the shame. This is the dark side, right?
Yep.
So this is all we saw. But if I can go back through get still, block out all the noise. I don't got to be at work. I don't got to deal with my husband or wife. I don't got to deal with my kid, anything. Just get super still. Oh, let's go back to that moment. Let me look at that moment. Yeah, this is the way I see it. But guess what? Everyone else, if there's people all around that same moment that were affected in that moment. Okay? Mm-hmm. Seeing it from different sides. And then there's up here and then out here as far as time goes. So up here looking at it down from the top, and then there's the course of time, because we don't know why that moment happened to us. But if you start to look for the answers and the reasons, you can then go back and then you can turn it around and see the good and see why did that happen. And then once you have that moment and you sit with it and create a new memory and then create gratitude from that moment.
It makes sense.
Then you heal that, right? And so like when you got your glasses, and so like if you have the glasses, and right now there's a lot of mud on them, okay? It's very muddy because, again, the trash from our past, my buddy Brian Bogert talks about that. I just had him on the podcast. The mud just cakes up on the glasses. Well, every time you do one of those experiences where you take a moment and you look at it from a different angle, and then you heal from it, boom, the wipers come down, wipe. And then you just keep wiping.
That's good.
Because if not, that's why most people have a lot of anxiety about the future, is because they're looking and they can't see clearly because their glasses are muddy. And so once you can wipe all of the dirt away, you can actually become really present. And then you're not actually even like worried about the future. You're actually just being who you really are, the best version of yourself.
Love that.
And then you're always just being, right? And you don't have to necessarily do.
I love that.
Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah. Like I wanted you to be in here before I got to episode 100, because I feel like I have a lot of, it's kind of like this is also like a Benny Fisher timeline journey. Like, like my last 100 guests and things like that. And if somebody ever goes back and tries to study that, after I do 1,000 of these things, they're gonna be like, oh, that was like, cause a lot of the people are like people from my past.
Yeah.
Because of people that I've met along the way, people I thought were interesting or I'm curious about. And so that's why I wanted to have you here. Plus I knew you have an amazing story. We didn't even get into like your real good stuff. I already know. I know you won't. Cause why? Cause you're afraid that I won't be able to recruit enough real estate agents. The people are not going to want to be around me. They're not. And I'm just going to tell you
What?
I couldn't tell you how, I don't want to say it wrong because it's not wrong, but like how I believe that as soon as you release that, the right people will be attracted to you, the wrong people will repel away from you. And you won't have as much pain. You won't have as much like present day trauma with all the people that you've attracted along the way,
Right.
because you're actually willing to share and be vulnerable and be authentic and be emotionally open, which is hard because you're what I call the masculine Dionne most of the time.
Jeez.
That's all. But anyways, is there anything else you want to share? Because we got to wrap it up because we're...
No, I can't believe it went that fast.
It's gone. It's time.
Just like that.
Yeah.
10 minutes. It's been an hour. Thank you. It was a pleasure. I love being in your presence. You know that I definitely feel a connection to you. I did the first time we met. I did for years, but you know, just watching you has been amazing. Your journey, and I'm sorry about your brother. I know that was a very difficult time because I know.
We also lost a baby 6 months ago. I don't know if you knew that. We lost that. So like kind of similar to your mom and dad. You know, I've seen. And then Evie, who's almost 2, I watched her being born at home. So the most perfect way to come into the world, I saw that. And I've also saw the exact opposite.
So
all within the same calendar year.
Remember her, because she's me. Mm-hmm. Just think about that. Make sure you recognize
But I will, and I do. But I will say the difference is your mom and dad were probably not nearly as aware.
They were devastated.
Right, and I'm not, and they right because they didn't have the tools, right, and so I've been so hardly working on that, and so and again, it'll always affect us, and we actually have a little plaque outside with our little picture on it, but it's not we're not gonna let it define us, and we're not gonna But like we're gonna embrace it. We're gonna talk about it, and we're gonna be very open about it, and we're gonna be like, there's a lot of good that happened out of it. It healed both me and Brittany even more, going through that experience. And in my keynote at the EOS conference, I talk about embracing the pain and like getting like pulling the sheets back and like getting your head in there and experiencing for as long as you can handle it. It's like a hot furnace. Get in there as hot as you can get, and just keep experiencing it, because guess what? When you come back out, it's so cool and so fresh and so like just airy. Amazing. But we got to go. Listen, if you love this episode, subscribe, like, comment below. If you have a guest that's as interesting as Dionne and you think that I should interview them, drop me a note. Let me know who we can get on the show. We are wrapping up the first 100 episodes of the Big Fish Cares podcast. I'm so excited about our next guest. So stay tuned 2 weeks from now. We'll have another great episode. And if you have any questions for Dionne or you want to send her some well wishes, drop your comments. She'll respond. See you guys next time.